What would be a funny thing to say to a surgeon before anesthesia kicks in 5 seconds later? Edit. Woke up today and this blew up. My surgery will be in about 5 hours. Thank you for the ideas. The last time I tried to say something funny right before surgery, they were about to put me out and I said, "Go easy on me, doc. It's my first time." I gave a little chuckle, and so did the doctor. He then picked up a scalpel and said, "Don't worry, it's my first time too." And then I promptly blacked out. Right before I went under to have surgery on my septum, I was about to start counting backwards before they put the mask on. Does anyone need anything while I'm out? The last thing I remember was in a room full of people hysterically laughing. I'm gonna need to get surgery so I can use this. I was being wheeled into emergency abdominal surgery once, and my girlfriend was with me. We are rolling down the hall, and they have the mask out to put me under, and I pause and say to her, "Don't let them touch my dick." The nurse smirked a little, and they put the mask on me. In somewhat of a panicked fashion, I pulled the mask off, stared up at my girlfriend, and with full weight and seriousness told her they can look at it, but no touching. I heard the doctor laughing as the gas kicked in. This takes the pie. Edit. I have been shown the light of the holy pie. This is particularly funny because they most certainly did touch your dick. With long surgeries under general anesthetic, you need a catheter so you don't leak all over the sterile field. Sorry. When I came to from anesthesia, the young nurse and my wife had me by the arms and were walking me to our car. Apparently I said 2 chicks at the same time in the tone of Lawrence from Office Space. Edit. It wasn't major abdominal surgery, it was a spinal nerve injection. So just a few hours of being out, and when it was time to go home, I was still Kaiser height. They had a thing checking my heart, and it fell off and it flatlined. I told them, "God damn it, you killed me." Here's my impression of my wife during sex. Edit. I'd like to dedicate the success of this comment to my wife. May she someday awaken from the coma and or exist. My twin owes me big time for this one. As they were pushing the drugs, they asked me to count backwards from 10. All I could say was, "No." The room erupted in laughter, and I was out. When I was a kid, they told me to count back from 10. So I did. I got all the 0, and all the doctors were looking at one another extremely confused. Then just before they were about to do something, I conked out. When I was a kid, I counted 10, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. Then opened my eyes and said, 6. The anesthesiologist was unpleasantly surprised. If I don't make it through this, tell my wife I want her to be buried alive with me. When I had my wisdom teeth removed and was given general anesthetic, I apparently said, "If this is what being on drugs is like, sign me up." He went and told on me to my mother. After I came to from having my wisdom teeth removed, they helped me stand up. I shook their hands off of me and yelled, "I've been drunk before," and proceeded to fall straight onto my face. Apparently my mom heard me and just had the Captain Kirk facepalm going on when I came out. I once had to have my right hand operated on for a serious injury. Drive Grace, will we be able to play guitar after this? Oh sure you will. Funny, I never could before. The operating room feels silent. I think I've heard the joke as, "Doctor, will I be able to play piano after the surgery?" Absolutely. It's a very safe procedure. Awesome. I've always wanted to be able to play an instrument. As the anesthesiologist was putting me under, he just said I'd start to feel sleepy soon. I asked him, "Aren't I supposed to be counting back from 100 or something?" He replied, "I don't know. I must have skipped that class." Being an anesthesiologist must be awesome, as you can always get the last word in. Anesthesiologist. Okay, how are you feeling now? Me. Oddly, at this point the room starts cracking up. No way, it was that funny, right? Anesthesiologist. Told you so. Turns out he gave me a little anterograde amnesia before a spinal block. Endured my stupid joke. Then told the room, "Watch this. He's going to say the same dumb thing again, word for word." I like how you know it's a lame joke, then get suspicious that people actually laughed at it. Classic schmoss B. I had an anesthesiologist that looked like Dan from Rosine. He was awesome though. I had to have 2 eye surgeries, and he was the anesthesiologist for the second one. He came in to explain the process and asked me, "So, I see you had surgery a week ago. So you know how this is done, right?" I nodded and said, "Yes, sir." His face suddenly got really serious looking, and he said, "Excellent. Most people freak out when they see the hammer." Edit. Yes, John Goodman. No, I haven't seen anything else he has acted in. Yes, thanks to this post I now have a list of movies to watch. Who's the guy with the scythe standing in the corner? That's the other surgeon. He's sitting in. When my grandpa was dying, he kept asking about the guy sitting outside his hospital room window on the bench. But no one was sitting on the bench. He died later that afternoon. My grandmother insisted for a few days before her death that her daughter, who died of cancer at a young age, was sitting at the foot of the bed. On her last evening, she became oblivious to everyone in the room and held a conversation with empty space, then reached her arms out towards it and was gone. Creeped my aunt out so much she still can't tell the story without shuddering. My gran died in 1997. When my mom died in 2006, a few of us were at her bed when it happened. I swear to whatever being you believe in, I heard 2 voices behind me less than a minute before she stopped breathing. One was a woman's voice, hugely similar to my grandmother, saying "We are here to get you," and a man's voice I didn't recognize, Mom's dad, my grandfather, died before my folks got married, saying something like "It's time to go." I then distinctly heard my mother's voice behind me saying, "Do I really look that terrible right now?" Then a second later, Mom's lips turned blue and she stopped breathing. I could have imagined the whole thing. I like to think I didn't. I was being put under for a wisdom tooth extraction a few years back, and it was the first time I've ever had anesthesia. They used injection method rather than gas, so they told me to watch the fluids going in, so I could gauge when I'd feel sleepy. I had this idea that I would say something like, "Oh no, doc, I've lost my eyesight," or something else preposterous. Before I could collect my thoughts, I just immediately blurted, "Well, she my voice progressively getting lower, and passed out. I asked for a tummy tuck while being wheeled in for a bowel resection. I said, "While you're cutting it open, just cut some off." Then when I was done my surgery, but still pretty messed up on drugs, I asked if I was skinny and then cried when my drive told me he didn't give me a tummy tuck. Same doctor, different procedure, terribly inappropriate joke. Had to have a colonoscopy, so they gave me some medication where I was awake, but it was weird. Anyways, I was feeling silly and told him first time doing anal on camera, and I'm not even getting paid. I asked for a tummy tuck after both of my C-sections. Doc gave me the same answer each time. I make it work, I don't make it pretty. Last time I went under, as I started to fade, I said, "You're gonna have to drive, I'm fucked up." Probably came out, "You're gonna have a drive, I'm fucked up." Method acting. I like it. When I got my wisdom teeth removed. Doctor, alright, so you feeling that sedative yet? Me, yeah, a little bit. I bet I can stay awake though. How long can people usually fight it? Doctor, not long. Good night. Me, blackout. I remember laughing when I woke up because that was the last thing I remember. I had this exact same conversation. The only difference was I woke up halfway through them taking out my wisdom teeth. My mother could hear my yelling from the waiting room. The doctor was a little surprised. Edit, would this be a good time to mention I had an upper GI scope last week and woke up during that too? This one was less dramatic. I made eye contact with the doctor and then tried to rip the scope out of my mouth. Then back under I went. Wow. So many who have woken up during procedures. We should band together and do something. Something nefarious. Edit 2. I do not have red hair, nor am I Irish. Till red hair can indicate a resilience to anesthesia. I had just woken up after having my shoulder worked on. I was in and out of consciousness for a bit and just generally fucking whacked out. I guess I shifted in the bed and moved the blankets a bit and exposed myself as the nurse came in. She smiled and moved the blankets back. I apparently told the nurse, you saw mine. Do I get to see yours? My wife was in the chair next to the bed. I remember thinking the nurse was smoking hot. I woke up and she told me she was flattered. I have no idea what I said. If something goes wrong and I go into a coma, don't you dare fucking cut my coma beard. Yes ma'am. Thanks for doing this. There aren't many surgeons out there who would operate on someone without health insurance. Wakes up in the parking lot wearing a surgery gown without a kidney and a bill for a hospital stay. Isn't all this how a hospital visit in the US normally ends? I had broken my wrist and was being put under to have 4 pins inserted. They gave me my anesthesia through a knife. I felt coldness spreading up my arm and across my chest. The nurse asked how I was doing and I said this must be what dying feels like. I heard her say oh my god, then I was out. I actually did the same thing before both of mine. I managed to get out. I'll see you in the future doc. Or something. Either way, once the drugs kicked in I didn't care. Edit a word. I actually just remembered I didn't get to say anything the first time. As I was about to lay down on the table they were stepping my arms down, and I shit you not the woman says, okay put your arms out like a T, yeah it's like you're being crucified. I only got out what? Then I woke up and looked at the first woman. I said I'm fucking hungry. Oh shit, sorry, she laughed and gave me goldfish. Just before I blacked out the anesthetist said to me this is the stuff that killed Michael Jackson. You can fondle me while I'm out if you want. They already do that. It's called a catheter, and if they don't do it, you piss yourself during surgery. I would prefer pissing myself than having a tube pushed up my wiener. Would you prefer having a tube pushed up your wiener or dying of septic shock because you peed into your own surgical wounds? Edit. My top comment is now about death by surgical whizzing. Reddit. Please never change. I was just getting my wisdom teeth out. How the fuck was I going to pee in my mouth? You don't know your own strength. When I had my first son, I got all the advice about watching out for him peeing during diaper changes. He only ever did this once. My wife and I were changing him one night while he was asleep. He yawned and peed straight into his own mouth. The full amount. It was like those laminar water jet streams you see in some parks. Not a single drop landed outside his mouth. My wife and I were in such shock we just froze. Lasted a couple seconds. Before going under for wisdom teeth the doctor said I might feel funny. They pushed the drugs and asked if I felt any different. My asshole, and only my asshole, began to itch like crazy, and it was hot, not warm. Hot like I just ate peppers with my ass. I told them my asshole is itching like crazy. The assistant was really bad at holding back a laugh. The doc resisted mightily, but he too succumbed to my newly discovered butthole emotions. For the record, my wife does not like it in the butt. Because I said this before my surgery. My wife is a raw nurse who works at the hospital I was in. I don't remember saying this, but her coworkers remember it. How did that go over later? She took it pretty well. I told her at least I didn't say you love it in the butt. Sidesteps a she took it pretty well joke. Wow. I actually have a relevant story that happened recently. As I was getting ready to go under they were placing a device in my mouth to keep me from biting down on the scope they were going to use for the endoscopy. Think medical ball gag, but a hard plastic ring instead of a ball. As the gal was placing it in I asked, wait, what's the safe word? I heard a good amount of laughing as the world turned to black. Edit a word. My surgeon told me to think of a happy place. Then he asked me where it was. The Simpsons kicked in, and I told him it was the happiest place on earth. To Joanna. I didn't stay awake long enough to see if he got the reference. Patient. Knock knock. Medical staff. Who's there? Patient. Nobody. Medical staff. Nobody who? Classic exit. That'd be a great time to try the reverse knock knock. You wanna hear a knock knock joke? Them, obvs. You. Okay, you start though. Them, knock knock. You, out cold. Waking from anesthesia one time I heard someone say his blood pressure is a little high, then I mumbled that'd be the anesthetist's assistant's fault. They then kinda startled, asked quickly why. Is that becoming slightly more coherent? I continued with she's really hot. They all laughed and said he'll be fine and released from theater. How it really sounded. His blood pressure is a little high. Thought the anesthetist done. What was that? She's really hurt. Get this man out of here.